Hello and a very warm welcome to this special. We've seen an absolutely thrilling series between India and Australia, with India winning the series 2-1. But what a fight back it was from Australia as well. Now both these teams are in the World Test Championship final. Of course, India got some help from New Zealand and they'd be thankful to the Kiwis for that. But it turned out to be a brilliant series, just as we expected, between the top two teams in the world. And we'll talk a lot about what happened in the series, what were the big talking points, some of the key takeaways from the series, from the Border Gavaskar Trophy 2023. Over the next 1 hour, there'll be some interesting numbers that we'll talk about. There'll be opinion from our experts on the show. And then, what we all love doing, some great cricket conversation. So, before I get to my guests, let's first take a look at how the series went. Now, it was meant to be the biggest test for India, and they passed the first exam in Nagpur with spinning colours. Rohit Sharma and his spin duo of Ravichandran Ashwin and Jadeja bamboozled the Aussie batting lineup on a turning track to win the first test by an innings and 132 runs. Captain Rohit Sharma also showed how to bat against spin, scoring 100. Then, India carried on from Nagpur to once again show how dominant they are at home, winning the second test by 6 wickets. But this was also the game where Indian batting struggled at 139 for 7 in their first innings before Akshar Patel and Ashwin rescued them. Jadeja then troubled the Aussies to bundle them out for a paltry 113. India were outplayed in their own spin game in the third test in Indore, with Rohit and co being dismissed for 109 in the first innings. The Australian spinners proved they were no pushovers, taking 18 wickets to raise questions about Indian batters' ability against spin. Usman Khwaja, Marnus Labuschagne and Travis Head outshone their Indian counterparts to take Australia to a rare test win in India and confirming their spot in the World Test Championship final. Then, in a complete contrast to the pitch that we saw, which was actually rated poor by the ICC in Indore, the two teams were welcomed by one of the flattest tracks of the series in Ahmedabad. Usman Khwaja and Cameron Green scored hundreds for the visitors to score 480. India fought back with centuries from Shubman Gill and Virat Kohli, but the match ended in a draw, with the two teams now in the final of the World Test Championship, which will take place at the Oval on 7th of June. What does this mean for the two teams? The result itself, the kind of fight back from Aussies. I have two gentlemen who join me here on the show. Let me introduce them to you. Then Sanjeev Mukherjee joins me, commentator, a cricket analyst. He's an author, he's a journalist. He's a good singer, better than a bathroom singer, some would say. So Sanjeev Mukherjee joins me here. Jamie Alter, closer to home. He's here, cricket analyst, expert, actor, a decent singer. But we're going to talk about the cricket today, and we're going to talk about the Border Gavaskar Trophy. So let me go straight to Sanjeev Mukherjee before I come back to Jamie. Sanjeev, what a test series we've seen. I mean, we knew this was going to be a hard-fought series. There's no doubt about it. We knew these were two teams that India know how to win at home. Australia just never give up. But the way it turned out, were you expecting this kind of fight back from Australia?
Oh, absolutely. First and foremost, Meha, thank you very, very much, because in a sense, we've been colleagues in the past. So it's a privilege to be back sharing screen space with you after a really long time. Not so long, but a long time. So thank you very much for the opportunity. And well, back to the cricket. Certainly, we do expect the best from cricket, and more so when it comes to test cricket. And the sort of cricket which is being played not only in the Border Gavaskar Trophy, but also in the other series involving New Zealand, Sri Lanka, then before that New Zealand, England. So obviously we were expecting a sort of a humdinger, and as the cliche term goes, going down to the wire. But yeah, there are more things, many things which surprised you as much as it surprised me and all of the other people who have been watching and keeping a close eye on the proceedings. But the one thing which made all of us very, very happy is not only the fact that India won the Border Gavaskar Trophy, but you look at the last 4 instances, including this one. India's beaten Australia twice in India. India's beaten Australia twice in Australia. So the last 4 times, it's India completely on a roll against the Aussies, and that's something which gives a lot of heart. And of course, why not? This is a very big rivalry, but certainly it was a great feast for the eyes.
Yeah, absolutely. Though India would have to thank the Kiwis, Jamie. There's a reason why Indians love New Zealand, and they did that. They ousted us from the finals last time, a World Test Championship. But then they said, you know what, we'll be nice and we'll just let you in, and that's exactly what happened. What a match that turned out to be, with New Zealand winning the last ball. But this series, there are a lot of things that we'll talk about. But overall, when you look at the series, I know Sanjeev said he wasn't surprised with the way Australia fought back. Your thoughts on the series overall?
Yeah, I think a lot of us knew that this was going to be a India series. I sort of veered between saying 3-1 and then 4-0. In the end, it didn't happen because of the pitch. And I think a lot of the talk before and during and after every single test match has been about the pitch. But the pitch at the end was something which I don't think was a very good advertisement for Test cricket. I'm sure that will come up during the course of this series. But overall, I just thought Australia would put up big of a fight. You know, you factor in the fact that David Warner got injured, they missed Josh Hazelwood, Stark and Green didn't play. But I think Australia's collapses, you know, in each of the first three matches, there was a collapse, and they all came about in that first session. So you look at that, and that's really where the series was won. Was spin going to be their biggest challenge? Absolutely. Were they going to struggle to bat for long periods? Absolutely. But I think Australia, and I think Steve Smith did address this, the way they collapsed, especially in Delhi, was the reason for this series defeat. By the time the series came to Ahmedabad, things had changed. The indoor track got a poor rating, but it just comes down to how dominant India's spinners were against, frankly, some pretty freaked out or spooked Australian batsmen.
Yeah, that's what one felt, especially after the first two test matches. You said that, you know, Australia really want to leave early because they are completely outfoxed by the Indian spinners. But let's get into the key takeaways, and we've got to start with Virat Kohli because this means so much to him. And why I say this is because not only has it taken him 3 years and 3 months, Jamie and Sanjeev, to score 100, but in Test cricket, which he himself has said many a times that this is the format that he loves the most. This is a pinnacle of cricket, really. So in that sense, this is huge. But what stood out for me, Sanjeev, was the fact that he was looking good and he was in zone. This is not what we've seen from Virat Kohli. We've seen some eye-catching innings in the past in test matches in the last 3 years. But this was just somebody going out there, complete focus, knowing what he had to do, changing his game a little bit, changing his stance. He just wanted it so badly.
Oh yes, and Meha, did I hear you correctly saying 3 years and 3 months?
Yes.
Sort of has a pretty nice ring about it, you know. Yeah, I'm sure you and Jamie would understand what I mean. Of course, Virat looked very good. He was due for a big one for a really long time. But I have a different take on this. I cast no aspersions whatsoever on Virat Kohli's stature or caliber as a batsman or as a professional, as a talent. But the fact is that look at the time he got to virtually play himself back in spite of all the surround sound which has been going on. Of course, there was a big issue about his captaincy. When he quit captaincy, then he tried to put it on certain former board officials, etc., etc. A lot of brouhaha and, you know, a lot of surround sound. But the fact that Virat has been looking good, but he was not able to convert it into the big ones. And of course, when you look at a batsman of Virat Kohli's stature, that's exactly what you need. You do not want him actually stay away from getting 100 or a daddy 100 in this case for 3 years and 3 months. You would expect it far earlier from Virat Kohli. And having said that, you know, one wonders that, of course, Virat is doing very well. But look at what exactly is India investing? Not just Virat. You look at a number of the players who now are seniors, they're into the early 30s or possibly in the mid 30s. What does the future do? So much of time you've given to Virat to play himself back into form for a fantastic 186, 14 run shot, or what would have been a well-deserving double 100. But have you at the other end stopped short of allowing some new talent to get in the way and get into the groove? That's my big question. I'm very happy with what Virat has done, and that was exactly what was expected from him. He's been playing cricket for the last 15 years.
Yeah.
But the fact that it took him so much of time to get back to a state where you know that this is Virat Kohli, the one we know, the man who commands the field. Yeah. As Vincent once told me that Virat, when he walks into the field, it's like he knows his way in, he knows his way out. Last 3.5 years, he looked like Abhimanyu from Mahabharata. He knew how to get it. He just didn't know how to make a big one. Of course, great super, 186, fantastic, daddy 100. If we are done with the celebrations, let's get to the point. How many people get so many opportunities, Neha, which has been afforded to Virat Kohli
Fair
just
point.
because of the star?
Fair point. Fair point, and that leads me to the next question that, which Jamie and I were discussing earlier on as well, about Shubman Gill and whether he should come in at number 4 once and when. And I know nobody wants to talk about Virat Kohli's retirement just yet. He's just come back to form. Probably not the right time, but you're right when you say that because he was given so many opportunities, as India missed out on figuring out who is that number 4 for you when Virat Kohli finally retires. Jamie, first this question, then we'll get into details of how brilliant Shubman Gill has been. So, quick one on Virat Kohli.
Yeah, I think, look, Shubman Gill, we all know that by trade, he's a middle order batsman. When he got into the under 19 team, specifically for the under 19 World Cup in 2018, when Rahul Dravid was the coach, he was made an opener, and all his success has come while opening the innings, be it in one days, T20s, or in tests. And we talk about all three formats this year, and we're only in the middle of March. Shubman Gill already has hundreds across three formats. So it's very much Shubman Gill's year. But there's a school of thinking, very sound, I feel, that says whenever the time comes that Virat Kohli does and retire on his own terms, so that's how it's going to be, there is going to be a massive void to fill at number 4. And I feel that place is duly going to be Shubman Gill's. Whether it comes from him, whether he needs convincing, that time will tell. But I hope, and Sanjeev rightly said that, yes, it was a daddy 100, but we need to look beyond June 7th at the Oval at the next WTC cycle. There are enough players who are 34, 35. I think Sanjeev was very kind when he said early 30s. A lot of them are in their mid 30s. What are you going to do with Cheteshwar Pujara? What are you going to do with Rohit Sharma? What are you going to do with Virat Kohli? The fast bowlers, Shamis, Umesh, they're all in the mid 30s. So definitely that is a discussion that I hope Rahul Dravid and the management and the selectors do have very, very soon. But Virat Kohli number 4, all this brouhaha over the opening slot, why KL Rahul was getting so much flack was because, yes, he was not scoring, but Shubman Gill was scoring. Behind him, there was Mayank Agarwal with 990 runs in the Ranji Trophy. Why there was no clamor for Virat Kohli was no Indian batsman has actually put his hand up for that number 4 slot. A lot of talk from the Mumbai circle, especially about Sarfaraz Khan. But Sarfaraz Khan, let's face it, is a long way away from selection. There are, to my mind, no viable number 4 options, which is why Virat Kohli, Sanjeev mentioned, does get that extra bit of rope, along with the fact that he has done outstanding things. So I hope as soon as the new WTC cycle starts in about 6-7 weeks or 2 months or so, that India do start planning. Because once Virat Kohli goes, who is going to bat at number 4? I don't think anyone knows, but there's a man called Shubman Gill who's 23, who has at least 11 or 12 years of service to the Indian team, who I think should walk into number 4.
Valid point, and in fact, the fact that you raised that point even about Cheteshwar Pujara, what happens now for India's middle order? Even Shreyas Iyer came in from an injury, got injured again. What is NCA doing? We've talked about this with Bumrah's injury as well. So there are a lot of those issues that need to be settled. But we've got to talk about Shubman Gill a little more, just because of the joy that he brings to all cricket watchers when he's playing like that. And Sanjeev, just, the elegance that you see, this lazy elegance that we see, we've seen so many cricketers from India, but you see him and you know that he is one of a kind, especially in this generation of players. You're not going to see those kind of players. You will, of course, but not as many as you did in the past when he's in full flow. And we've seen that in all 3 formats now. He's just scoring hundreds in every format, a double 100 in ODI, 100 in T20I, has become the 4th player, I think, Indian to get 100 in all 3 formats. The way he went about his innings as well, especially when, it was, the field that was set by Steve Smith, where it was a completely leg side kind of a field. The way he just made sure that he stood there in the middle, didn't score as many runs, but whenever got the opportunity, put the ball away. I don't know. There are so many things to talk about Shubman Gill, but what I can say is that the future looks good for India when we have youngsters like Shubman Gill.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You put it very, very well. It's very difficult for me to actually come up with an answer, Meha, because you said it all. And you said it's lazy elegance. When you write, I mean, we all know there are so many people who write so beautifully. There are so many people who write so much, so well in the world of cricket, in the world of literature also. But I always give special marks to people who write well, but more importantly, are very, very lucid. What comes to mind is the late Peter Roebuck. Among a host of so many people, so many good writers, Roebuck used to stand out because he never used to have bombastic words.
Yeah.
He was very, very simple. He was clear. He had clarity. He was lucid. That's what Shubman Gill's style is like. I know it's not a great allegory, but he makes batting looks so lucid. He's fluid. His approach is set.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't know when he's going to shift gears. You do not know what battle plan he has in his head. And of course, he has the extra moment to time his shot so well. But the one thing which I liked so well about Shubman Gill is, if you look at current batsmen in current cricket, more so with people jet setting between three formats, Test cricket, one day, and T20, there are technical issues which people have and they develop over a period of time, and which comes into evidence when you're playing a different format from the one you were playing a week back or 10 days back.
Yeah.
Shubman Gill, the one thing he does, the big thing, which I'm sure you and Jamie as well have noticed very well, is the way he's so fluid in shifting from the front foot to the back foot and vice versa. In modern day cricket, there are players who are extremely good on the front foot. There are very few players who are extremely good on the back foot. But very few players who are good both ways. I'll give you a small example. What are you taught when you go to a cricket coaching class when you want to be a batsman? A fast bowler is bowling and you want to pull him, right? The coach teaches you to take your body away from outside the line of the ball, make sure you see from above your shoulders and then go for the shot. These days, youngsters and the great batsmen and the 360s of the world, they come to the front foot. Doesn't matter whether they're taking themselves out of the line of the ball, they're just going for it. Bang! It's gone. It's gone. Fine. Maximum impact, they say, etc., etc. But when you look at Shubman Gill, he's classical. He still has it in him. He's using the grammar. He's using the textbook style. But at the same time, he is so devastating. He's so murderous. The fact that maybe he doesn't hit or doesn't look like somebody who can hit 6 sixes and an over doesn't make him any less of a batsman or any less dangerous than a Surya Kumar Yadav. I mean, Shubman has been, and I hope we are all, when we talk good about somebody and then the person form runs out, but that's very unfortunate. We hope that Shubman manages to keep himself in this zone and play for India for years. And as far as what you asked about, his place in formats and what Jamie just spoke about, just want to add a little bit to it. I think among the three formats, Shubman Gill is a certainty as far as Test cricket and one-day cricket is concerned. T20 cricket, there are many contenders. But what I don't like, Neha, and I'm sure I would like your and Jamie's opinion on that also, is the sort of discourse which happens whenever a player goes out of the team for a reason not known to him. For example, Shubman Gill, he did so well in New Zealand. Then we don't know why the hell did he not make it to the team in Bangladesh. Was he rested? Was he dropped? Was he injured? Was he recovering? Was he on holiday? Was he on Instagram? We do not know. We do not know anything. Ishan Kishan goes to Bangladesh, gets a double-handed. The moment Shubman Gill comes back to the team, there's tremendous amount of pressure. So is he being burdened, a player of his caliber and ability, that I went out of the team for no reason attributed to me, somebody else comes, steps in and possibly plays a 200 innings or not, and I'm not sure of my place in the team. I mean, that should not be the case. Of late, team selection has been a contentious issue. Let's face it. Sometimes I look at social media, and I'm sure you've got the joke, Neha, that people have started asking that possibly the next time we need to select a team, we might ask ChatGPT. Like, is it who's going to be the opener? Is it Shubman Gill or is it KL Rahul? I mean, this doesn't happen. And thank God, me and Jamie are not thinking on the lines of Akash Chopra and Venkatesh Prasad. Because if we had done it right now on your show, possibly your show would have got a little bit more of TRPs. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I mean, you're right about that. But I also think that nowadays the team management is looking at social media. I mean, that's something now I've heard from sources within the BCCI. There are a lot of times they're looking at what Twitter is saying, what is trending, There have been instances where they've said, oh, because Sanju Samson comes with that kind of fan club, that kind of following, that sometimes the pressure is so much more to have him in the team. In the same way with KL Rahul, I think it came down to that, not just with Akash Chopra and Venkatesh Prasad, but overall, this whole thing of why is KL Rahul still in the team, And frankly, now when you look at how Shubman Gill played in this test series, all of that has been validated, right? I mean, Jamie is one of those people I know who kept saying that, look, I think KL Rahul needs to sit out, Shubman Gill needs to come in. Jamie, is India past KL Rahul now, after what you've seen of Shubman Gill and the way he's played?
See, the game is very fickle, and like Sanjeev was very subtly alluding to, sometimes not so subtly, the people around, the people who stakeholders, the people who talk about the game, they can be also very fickle. But just to address the KL Rahul issue, it was very clear that when you're scoring and averaging 12 in a test series, that something is wrong. It was not just about this series. There's been a long time when KL Rahul has just not looked the part in test cricket and also in T20 cricket. And I think, and I'll be very frank here, I think we moved past beyond the dialogue about, well, he came back after surgery. I think that argument probably held for 2, maximum 3 months once he returned for the Zimbabwe tour last July, I believe it was. So there was enough evidence that he was not just getting in that zone. Now, Sanjeev mentioned, is someone speaking to Gill? Is someone communicating with Gill? I hope that someone did put an arm around KL Rahul's shoulder during all this phase and made the dialogue clear, because there's nothing worse than, like Sanjeev said, nothing worse than not knowing why you're being picked, why you're being dropped. So KL Rahul, had the team moved on past him on the basis of his very poor test form for the past 15 to 18 months, and the fact that Shubman Gill atoned for his 2 loose shots, especially the second innings of the Indore test with 100, albeit the track was very flat. If Kohli and Gill had to score runs, there was no better place than Ahmedabad to score them. At least Shubman Gill has ensured that if he stays fit and is not injured, he will open the innings with Rohit Sharma on June 7th at the Oval. But like we discussed already, is India planning for the next cycle? I hope they are. Does KL Rahul fit into their immediate plans? I don't think so. Look, he's played 47 odd test matches, got hundreds across the world. He has that class, but he finds himself at the proverbial crossroads where maybe he needs to ditch one format, maybe he needs to take a break, maybe he needs to go back to the domestic grind. I don't know. But I think right now it's Shubman Gill's year. We're only in the middle of March, and we're all just passengers watching this fantastic talent blossom. And I hope he goes on to scale many heights, which I feel, having watched him for 3-4 years now closely, he's very much capable of.
Okay, then let's move on to the third big takeaway from this series, and that's Akshar Patel, the batter. Gentlemen, he's been a revelation, and just the way he's batted. In fact, in the Delhi Test match, if it hadn't been for that partnership between Akshar Patel and Ravichandran Ashwin, India would have gotten out for a much lesser score. Things would have been different, but all of that changed with Akshar Patel batting like the way he's batted. In fact, he is the third highest run scorer of this series. Who would have thought of this? That, when you look at that list of the top batsmen in Border Gavaskar Trophy 2023, Akshar Patel would be the third highest scorer. At the top of the list is Usman Khawaja, and number 2 is Virat Kohli, and then Akshar Patel. And look at that, saw 84, in India's first innings in Nagpur. I spoke about the innings that he played in Delhi, 74 in Delhi to help India reach a good total. In fact, I think they got the same total as Australia, 1 run less, I think. And then Ravindra Jadeja bowled beautifully for Australian collapse, and then India won that test match. 162-run partnership with Kohli in Ahmedabad as well. What do you look at, when you look at Akshar Patel, Jamie and Sanjeev, we've always talked about his bowling at home, even the way he bowled against England. We know that Akshar Patel comes in as soon as India is playing at home, and he'll play a huge role on spinning tracks, what he did in Ahmedabad as well. His batting has been brilliant, but bowling, he's been underutilized. But having said that, 3 wickets in the series, Sanjeev?
Well, certainly, I have to admit that, the list which you read out of the top scorers, top run-getters, if you take away Usman Khawaja, for India, Akshar Patel batting at number 9, which ends the series as the second highest run scorer for India after Virat Kohli with a batting average of 88.
8, yes.
Need we say more? Need we say more? He's basically not only outbatted himself, he's outbatted Jadeja, he's outbatted Ashwin by miles. Of course, Ashwin was involved in a very important partnership. Jadeja was involved in two very important partnerships. But Akshar Patel, he never ceases to amaze you. And the fact that he's batting so well and he's just picked up few extra gears in the way he's batting these days, there is a danger. There's a flip side to what I see. While he's doing very, very well, if you look ahead to the World Test Championship final, and if you are allowed to put on the hat of a selector, which among three will you pick? You will actually not pick Akshar Patel.
Very
you will
difficult.
pick Ashwin Jadeja, and even if you have to pick only one among the two, then you will pick possibly Jadeja. So that's where Akshar Patel stands. We were just talking about Shubman Gill. I mean, Akshar Patel is not really in an enviable position because he's performing brilliantly. His batting speaks volumes for himself. And the fact that he's got so many runs on pitches and against opposition in which the top order literally crumbled, barring a couple of exceptions, that speaks so much about his caliber as a batsman. But that's a new problem you got to fix. So do you have to have only Akshar Patel, only on home test matches or home conditions, and you don't play him abroad? Because that's where my question is, because Akshar is so good. If India 7, 8 and 9 contribute so many runs throughout a series on whatever sort of pitches they are, and as somebody very rightly wrote, that India falling on its own spin sword, which is a big problem because our top order doesn't seem to have an idea about how to play spin. And here we have three spin bowling all-rounders, or three all-rounders who also bowl spin. They are batting magnificently, and Akshar is leading the charge. But again, that's the question I want to ask. What does it get for Akshar? Will he be in the starting 11 in the World Test Championship final? I don't think so.
Yeah.
So what happens?
No, that's a very valid question. And in fact, this is something that, I want to put to Jamie as well. Jamie, in the World Test Championship, and we're just going to go by what India did when they were playing in England last. In 2021, in 4 straight matches, they played Jadeja, Ashwin sat out. In 2022, that rescheduled match, the 5th match, again, they went with the same kind of combination. And it's a valid point. At this point, between Jadeja, between Ravichandran Ashwin and Akshar Patel, he's a better batter. He's the best batter out of all three of them. But, come the World Test Championship, he's not going to find a place there.
Absolutely, very, very rightly pointed out that the last 5 test matches that the Indian team under 2 different captains have played in England, that is 4 in 21 and 1 last year, that rescheduled 5th test, Ravichandran Ashwin did not feature in each of those. So I frankly find him in the same boat as Akshar Patel. And I have no doubt that if Jadeja is fit, he will be the only spin bowling all-rounder that India play come June 7th. Things might change because of Jasprit Bumrah's unavailability. You might see Ashwin come in, especially if he does very well in the IPL. But frankly, let's face it, it's going to be 4 seam bowlers most likely and Jadeja. Now, just very, very briefly coming back to Akshar Patel, I think he probably realized very early, I'm not going to be bowling a lot of overs in this series because Ashwin and Jadeja have the faith of the captain. So I need to do something. There was also Kuldeep Yadav. A lot of noise on social media and on TV about why he was left out as well. In the end, it came down to what Akshar Patel offers with the bat. This is why Kuldeep Yadav did not start the series. Then in his first innings, Akshar scores, 84 or something? He bats 5 times in this series. The 3 times he gets dismissed, Maya, it's 4 half-centuries. Big, crucial half-centuries from a number 9 batsman. The other 2 innings, he is left knocked out because India's tail does not support him. And suddenly the narrative is, why is Akshar Patel batting at number 9? Let's have him at 5. Let's have him at 6. This just says how outstanding, whether you saw it coming or not, does not matter, how outstanding Akshar Patel performed on the same tracks where Pujara was pretty much very average, where Kohli barring 1 innings, and maybe some will say that 45, he struggled. Barring Rohit Sharma, Akshar Patel was the one who looked the most comfortable at against spin. Same conditions. Why is Pujara struggling? Why is Kohli struggling? Why is Iyer struggling? Why is Suryakumar Yadav struggling? Why can't KL Rahul buy a run? On the same tracks, Akshar walks out and just looks so blooming in control. So in control, Maya and Sanjeev. that he almost started to pick off bowlers at will. Okay, I'm going to hit this guy for six. The guy hit 4 6 in one inning on the same track where everyone else is playing for time. So something about his preparation and his determination and belief speaks volumes. Now, he's under bowled, absolutely. I don't think he actually bowled that badly because man to man, he's not a Jadeja, he's not an Ashwin. Ashwin is a genius, he's a master craftsman. Akshar Patel just comes up and, like I keep saying, he plays pit two with the batsman, right? But when the pitch is not supporting him, he has nothing else to fall back. Look at how many overs he bowled as compared to Ashwin and Jadeja. They both bowled about 165 and 164.
Yeah.
This guy bowled half of that. So he knew, if I have to stay relevant and I have to keep this fantastic left-arm Chinaman bowler called Kuldeep out, I need to score runs. And he goes and does that. A fantastic series. I think Sanjeev said he averaged 88. Look at that. The rest, barring Virat Kohli, all averaged between 12 to KL Rahul. I think 49 or 50 was Virat Kohli. This guy's averaging 88. Hats off to him.
Yeah, absolutely. But you cannot take away from the fact that Ravichandran Ashwin, like you said, is a genius with the ball, especially in these conditions. And Ravindra Jadeja was making a comeback, and it turned out to be a promising comeback because for both these guys, they won Joint Player of the Series award because of the way they bowled in the series. Now, yes, I know that the wickets were helpful. Though for Ashwin, even at one of the flattest tracks in Ahmedabad, he got 6 wickets for 91, which was the best by an Indian in this series. But you look at Ravichandran Ashwin and the way he's bowled, look at Ravindra Jadeja, and this has been a promising comeback. And what you said, Jamie, about and Sanjeev about the World Test Championship final and who's going to find a place as a lone spinner, this is something that now the team management will have to think about and wonder what they should do, because here you have Ravichandran Ashwin showing what he can do. Again, the highest wicket taker in the Border Gavaskar Trophy and 2 5-wicket hauls in 2 matches. Significant difference. And of course, even in the match in Delhi, in which Akshar Patel actually batted well, it was the partnership with Ravichandran Ashwin that took India to a respectable total. Like I said, he's a genius. Also, India needs a vice captain at this point with KL Rahul sitting out. Can he be your vice captain? That's something that the team management will have to think about. We'll also quickly take, since we're running out of time and I have so many more questions for you, we'll also take a look at Ravindra Jadeja's figures before I come to you for, just a look ahead to the World Test Championship. Even Ravindra Jadeja, how often have we seen players coming back from surgery, rehab, not really feeling themselves, not in the rhythm. But for Ravindra Jadeja, this series would have meant a lot, and he gave it his all, not so much with the bat, but with the ball. And if you put those numbers up, which are going to come up on your screens, you take a look at that, you realize how good has he been as well. In Delhi, despite the innings that R. Ashwin and Akshar Patel played, India could still have been in trouble. But it was Ravindra Jadeja and the way he bowled that India won that test match. He's the second highest wicket taker in Border Gavaskar Trophy. Would be happy with how he's performed. The Indian team would be happy with an eye on the World Test Championship. But let me go to you guys then on what you can expect at the World Test Championship. The conditions are going to be different. There are a lot of issues. One issue, conditions different. Secondly, all of these players are going to be involved in the IPL in a big way. World Test Championship, the timing of it, the final, it's a week later. How do you see this panning out? Of course, workloads have to be managed. Rohit Sharma spoke about it. What are, the changes that India is likely to make in their playing 11? Let's start with Jamie and then I'll come to Sanjeev.
I think, like you just briefly alluded to, the answer to that lies in the next 2.5 months of the IPL, right? If we look at past history, Rohit Sharma often comes out of the IPL with some niggle or sort, right? India cannot afford that anymore. I think we've already addressed the balance of the 4 seamers and the 1 spinner, so I'm not going to repeat myself there. India have to hope that all these 12, 13 players who appeared during this Border Gavaskar Trophy, they all stay fit, because Shubman Gill should be opening alongside Rohit Sharma. If Pujara's not playing the IPL, we can assume he's going back to county, so he should be a shoo-in again, right? It's going to be, look, it's going to be a neutral pitch because England is not playing. It's Australia versus India. What kind of pitch do we get? I don't know. But we do know that the Oval is one of the drier, flatter wickets, even for the month of July.
Okay.
There is some spin there. So India would back their spinners there as well.
Okay, all right. Quick one, Sanjeev. Out of time. I'd like to ask you another question, Sanjeev, but we're completely out of time. A quick one then from you: is India going to win the World Test Championship final? You have 5 seconds, Sanjeev.
Difficult to predict, but I think Jadeja will play a significant role, and I hope
Okay.
KL Rahul doesn't play. Shubman Gill is waiting.
All right. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to have this conversation. It's so much fun. There's so much to talk about. I enjoyed talking to you guys. Hopefully it was the same, and hopefully people watching would have liked this as well. Thank you very much. All right, so there you have it. World Test Championship final beckons. Yes, India will play the ODI series against Australia right now, and then we'll go into the IPL. After that is the World Test Championship final between India and Australia. So, of course, a lot of cricket to look forward to. We'll also get you all the latest from the ODI series to be played between India and Australia. That's it from us. I hope you enjoyed this show. Do write in the comment section below as to what more do you want from us in terms of programming on sports. We'll get you all the latest. That's it. Goodbye. Thanks for watching.